Hello and welcome to Gareth Jones on Speed, and I'm very pleased to say for the first time in what seems like practically most of the F1 season, we are quarrate in that I am joined not only by Zog,
hello,
but by Richard Porter as well.
Hello.
And the three of us were together to watch this fine end to a fine season and to celebrate the fact that we now have a new world champion. A round of applause please for Sebastian Vettel. Tinged with various emotions. My primary one is that, I do wish Lewis could have done it. That was mine. Yeah. Zog, yours?
Well, yeah, I do wish Lewis could have done it. I really wish Webber could have done it. You know, realistically, it's going to be his last chance to win the championship, and he worked incredibly hard to have the chance of doing it this time. It's a shame he didn't make it.
And Richard, your feeling?
Yeah, Hamilton's already got one, and I'm every confidence he'll get another one at some point.
All right.
Whereas, as Zog said, Webber, you can see it's slipping through his fingers now. He's a good bloke, he's a fighter, and he had largely a good season with a few notable... I mean, obviously, he had a couple of pretty horrendous accidents. The getting airborne in Malaysia, was it?
I think it was.
And then, of course,
over Malaysia.
Yeah, well, exactly, Air Malaysia. And then he had that the other week in Korea, didn't he, where he
crunched into the
barriers in the mud, and then of which there was a lot, and then Rosberg clipped him, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. And that could have been what really did him, really, moments like that.
And one of the reasons why I think one tends to feel so... You want him to win just that little bit more is that even though I think Red Bull have been trying to let their drivers race, and they've been very good about not telling them what to do, they undoubtedly have favoured Vettel sort of emotionally. He's the favoured driver. Not necessarily favoured in terms of there being any sort of tactical advantage given to one driver or the other. You can read it in all kinds of things through the season. I just think that they just prefer that he's been the favoured son. He's the one who's come up through the Red Bull drivers programme. And it sort of maybe took them a little bit of a while. I'm not saying that that's how the whole Red Bull team operates. No. You get the feeling that Webber perhaps hasn't felt as supported by the team as maybe he should have done. And, he's enough of a fighter for that not to matter too much.
I know what you mean, but you start to get the feeling in the later part of the season that Webber is actually motivated by a kind of righteous anger about things, and that sometimes he was almost trying to cause a bit of a hubris to drive himself on. He liked being the underdog, because, his name on Twitter, if we can be very modern about it for a moment, is Aussie Grit. Mm-hmm. And I think that's how he styles himself. He's a fighter, and he has this dogged determination, but he needs, as Johnny Rotten once said, anger is an energy, and he needs that. I suspect. I could be wrong, but that's my take on it. That, you're right, Vettel was the favoured son, but actually that didn't hurt Webber as much as you might imagine. I almost said Weber then. I was getting all German about it.
Do you know what I think?
It has brought out a lot of... it's brought out a lot of good things in Webber.
I think that Vettel's the better driver.
Oh, yeah.
I think the emotional turmoil that any two members of a team go through during a season, especially if you're both in with a chance for the World Championship, is sort of heightened by the intensity of being the promise of being a champion. Start to put English sentences together like Eddie Jordan here.
Please.
I know you really think... You're a great man, but... Was I asking a question? No.
And we've got you here for just a moment, so if I could just carry with this question for a little bit longer, and maybe...
Gareth,
come to me.
Gareth, you've never spoken on a podcast before, so can I say to you that the thing is... I remember when I was running Jordan, the thing was... we're out of time, goodbye.
But the point I'm trying to make is that, there's always an internecine war between two in a team, and that they both feel the pressure, and at some point someone has to say something during the season. It's happened time and time again. It happened countless times when anyone was Schumacher's partner. It happened for Coulthard and Hill when they were at Williams together. It happened at Honda when Button was there. It happened at Renault when Trulli was there. And even if they are getting the support, they still feel they're not getting the support the other guy's getting because the other guy's doing a better job. And the point is, I think Vettel is the better driver. He's less likely to make a mistake. He leads from the front. That's his preferred position, and you put him there, he will get to the end of the race. And I come back to something I said years ago. I think that anyone who can win a Grand Prix, Monza, in the rain, in what in fact was practically a Minardi, has got to be a fantastic driver, and so Vettel deserves as much as I
have a cup of coffee brought to him by TV's Violet Berlin.
How fantastic!
I guess it's time for a coffee break.
It's a cup of coffee.
Good timing. I was almost getting to an Eddie Jordanistic point there, girlfriend. Yeah.
Almost, but
Mark Blackmore.
Just in
Girlfriend,
time then.
as the fourth member of the team, are you happy with Vettel being the champion?
I'm happy with Alonso not being the champion.
Ah.
Chance these days, isn't
Violet,
it?
could we ask you that question again, but in the style of Eddie Jordan? So, Violet, what do you think? Because I think this, and I'm going to tell you about what I think, and I'm going to tell it repeatedly, and oh no, now we've got to end. Goodbye. Just done the same joke twice, but it's worth saying.
It was even better the second time.
And that's the bit where I don't get a word in as well, isn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
But you're so dazzled by the purple trousers that you know.
How do you feel about Red Bull,
Richard is not
girlfriend?
actually wearing.
Do you have any feelings about Red Bull at all?
Nice logo.
That's a fine answer.
I want to just remind me about the trousers.
I implied that you weren't wearing trousers.
I know.
I didn't mean to imply that you had purple trousers that you weren't wearing, because that would be silly, and that's not the case at all.
I once did a feature for Evo magazine about the old Ford Focus when it was going out to production, just to say, what a great car it was and how it sort of changed family cars forever. But the photographer shot the whole thing using a special experimental infrared film, experimental for him at least. And I was in a couple of the photos, but it made my jeans look bright red. And because it was actually the film rather than post-production. Oh,
sorry, I must fix the hinge on that door.
Then I just looked like I had red jeans on in the thing. I don't know why I'm telling you this. Is unrelated to Formula One.
But it wasn't that particular kind of red colour of trouser that tends to be only worn by English gentlemen of a certain age.
Yes.
When you get to about sort of, well, I think it's 60 or over, and they're almost always corduroy.
Yes.
There's a certain sort of deep red.
Zog, slacks.
Slacks.
No, they're not. No, they're not slacks.
Sure?
Though they're more of a jean cut. I'll tell you who wears them in pink. And wears them every year at the Goodwood Festival of Speed that I've seen. Adrian Hamilton, son of Duncan Hamilton, the famous Jaguar racer, who's massively posh and wears tweed jackets, but pairs them with a natty pair of pink jeans.
Can I bring us back to this matter of Formula One?
Formula
That
One.
was such a good trouser chat there, but never mind.
A trouser chat.
If you've enjoyed the Trouser Chat, do seek out on iTunes Gareth Jones on Trousers. It's available almost inevitably quite soon.
Gareth Jones in trousers. Which is the grown-up version of Gareth Jones in short trousers, which was the show before this.
This has all got exceedingly strange.
Welcome to Gareth Jones On Trousers, the podcast for pantaloonists. Joining me for another programme completely about trousers, Zog.
Hello.
And Richard Porter from Sniff Trousers.
Hello.
Richard, the trend at the moment for trousers is to go for this kind of, what are they? I mean, they're leggings with a pattern sprayed on them. Is that something that you would do?
Oh, I think you're talking about jeggings. Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I mean, I think they're a little bit garish. I saw some the other day. It reminded me quite a lot of, you remember the sponsorship they used to have on the old Toro Rosso car in their first season?
Richard,
It was
can
very
you just
reminiscent
talk
of that.
about trousers, please? This is not a show about cars. Just try and keep to the subject.
That's embarrassing.
Zog, mate. Let's see if we can stay on topic here.
Sure.
Flares, you're wearing a pair today. Would you wear skinny trousers? That's very much what's going on in this season.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of a skinny trouser guy. I mean, I've got the flares on today, but that's because I'm not driving. If I was in the car today, I'd be in the skinny leg because those flares, they do kind of get caught on the pedals a little bit in the footwell, and I do find when I'm kind of getting into
about?
This is supposed to be a
Happens to
programme
me.
about trousers, not cars.
Just talk about trousers, for frick's sake.
What? Well, I'm trying to keep it relevant.
Keep it trouserial, that's all I'm asking.
Okay, all right, okay, look, start again.
Central with Gareth Jones on Trousers!
To talk sensibly about Formula One, some hope. Let's just look at the points here. Sebastian Vettel is world champion with 256 points. That does seem a lot with this new 25 points
Yeah, it does,
win.
doesn't it?
Seem an awful lot.
Has anybody actually done the analysis of how the end of the season would have played out with the old point system? Because I'd be really interested to know if there would have been 4 drivers in it for the title at this last race with the old
I hope
point
someone
system.
does. I'm very bad at maths, but I hope somebody clever on the internet does it in the next few days.
I think somebody...
Maybe
I
we
did
have a
read
clever
about this.
listener who could work. Maybe somebody's done it already. You can point to the
Someone
link.
has done it already.
Have they?
Yeah, and apparently it would have been an even closer season. That they would have been tighter in the pack. Webber would have been tighter to it. Lewis would have still been in it, and Button would have been still in it.
So that
apparently
means that the new point system then
Doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, but hey, the drivers work. I've got a theory about the drivers as well.
certainly do.
Okay, Vettel beat Alonso by 4 points. Sorry. Webber finished on 242 points. Lewis at 240 points.
Ooh,
16
tight
points
gap.
away. Yeah. Button at 214, and Philip and Massa, the forgotten potential champion, at 144.
Hang on, so there's 70 points between Button in 5th and Massa in 6th.
That sounds a lot, doesn't it?
It does sound like, well, again, but it's all in
two and a bit
this
wins,
new
isn't it?
metric system of points or whatever.
It'll
Boy,
never
that
catch
been in
up.
pre-decimal
No,
points.
it's the quartic system. 25, I think. Quartic.
It doesn't quite. It's 25, 18. What is it? 1850? No, is it 15 for 3?
7 3/4 for 9th, or if you finish between
it's
9th
eight,
and 8th, you get 4 points, but you can hold them over to the next year. I don't understand it.
Really?
As long as you've got Vodafone and you're sort of carrying it over from month to month.
Is that how it works? So
Yeah,
anyone
it's like
sponsored by
free tax.
Vodafone,
You've got to be in a McLaren.
you can carry it over.
I genuinely don't understand how they work this out. Now, I'm wondering whether there's two options here. Did they use a very, very complicated, some kind of, I don't know, algorithm and use maths to work it out? Or did they just essentially throw mud at a wall and see what stuck?
I don't know. Maybe they just came up with something to fob Bernie off because he couldn't have his medal system.
I think there's truth in
system.
that. I think, the medal system would be stupid. It's not about winning. You ask, where's my Jackie Stewart book? Hang on.
It's not about winning. I think it is about winning. But a medal doesn't really make the win any better or worse.
Winning is not enough, right? Winning and also being consistent and being safe in the process.
No, but the thing...
Now, there's a man who rocks a trouser in the tartan styly. Sorry, we've gone off again.
Nobody else. But you're right about the medals aren't appropriate for a motor racing
just
event.
It's
like a track and field thing.
So, in the other championship, because there were actually 3 World Championships going on there, did you realise? There was the Drivers' Championship, there was the Constructors' Championship, and then what I call the New Teams Championship.
Well...
You will not find this on an official programme, but...
Won by Lotish.
Was it?
Well, it was going to be Virgin at one point until, I think... Was it Glock finally spun off from an 11th place he would have finished in, or a 10th place or something? But Lotish, certainly the most consistent performers of the 3 new teams.
Well, and it's a shame that they won't... Well, we don't quite know what's going to happen next year yet, but it does look as if they're not going to be able to carry over the Lotus name till next year.
Can I advise our
which is
listeners?
a shame, I think.
If I know most of them do already, but if they visit the Sniff Petrol website, there's a very clear indication what's going to happen to Lotus there next year on that.
Yeah, I think it may actually go the opposite way. Maybe more low-tie than we expected.
Yeah, it could be anything up to 13
Maybe
teams.
I just made that up. I can't remember.
You're talking about the new teams. We were talking earlier before we recorded the show about how Red Bull has come along since they bought Jaguar 5 or 6 years ago. And during those years, even though they had Adrian Newey and they're talking about their plan, their aspirations and where they're going, for me it wasn't until this year that they really felt like they're really there.
Yeah,
and
they're a legitimate top-level team.
And in a way, it's because last year, they achieved, so much, and they came so close to winning the championship. But even so, it just doesn't do it. You don't sort of feel like they're a big team until they've delivered a championship. Really.
But now, now they have constructors and drivers, and you can't discount. Which, of course,
and what a car! What a car! I really want to know a lot of the detail about just what Newey did to make that car so good this year. And I'm sure it'll be a couple of years before maybe they'd be comfortable talking about all of the things on there. And maybe there'll be a really good article in, I don't know whether it'll be Motorsport magazine in a few years or whatever, but I really want to find out.
Well, there's a bloke who has a sort of web blog who you can follow on Twitter as well, called Craig Scarborough, who does some brilliant technical analysis.
Yep.
You've seen that? Mad props to Craig Scarborough, because he does some really good dissection of stuff that happens during the season with modifications to wings and so on. Talking about this sort of the Red Bull working their way up, and obviously the Adrian Newey factor can't be discounted, but then you sort of, if you believe in this, what would you call it? Not Brownian motion, but the way that sort of there's a trickle up, and then sometimes teams trickle down. Williams are not the team they once were, but
they've managed to stem the leak, though, I'd say, for Williams at the moment. Contrary to the...
of course, the Hülkenberg's pole being a great example of that. But they're not the all-conquering team that they once were in the glory days.
You mentioned Hülkenberg's pole, and
Crikey, we're back to trousers again.
I just found that funny.
Can we just... Thank you.
But I was just going to say that the thing is, then you say, OK, well, so where now? Well, you look where Red Bull were. They were sort of solid middle-ranking team, like Force India are now. Sort of capable of moments of greatness, but not quite there. So then you sort of say, well, are Force India going to be the next big thing, the next one who's tickling Ferrari and all the big hitters at the top, McLaren and so on. I don't know. Of course, it's all very contingent on engine supply and then on who they get to design the cars, but they're certainly in with a shout of making that jump up.
And if you wanted to argue the case for Force India being one of those teams that are going to take that step up, they've got a good relationship with McLaren, Mercedes, that's going to give them a strong advantage. They're putting a decent amount of money in, and they've got a team boss who appears to be committed and very keen and the kind of personality that can drive a team along. So, yeah, maybe.
Although I don't think this season, in truth, is any different to any of the great seasons that we've enjoyed in Formula One for the last, 15 years or more. Once again, this was Newey versus Ferrari versus McLaren. If you think about it, when Newey was at McLaren, it made McLaren the big player. When Newey was at Williams, it made Williams the big player, and they were winning championships. I think he's just at Red Bull now. It's another Newey championship. It's almost wrong to call it a Red Bull,
But
I think.
can one man, even as clearly a talented designer as Adrian Newey, pull a team together to that extent?
Clearly, it's a team sport. They've got to deliver on the day and behave as a team, and indeed make Newey's extraordinary ideas practical, because some of the time, this is a really noisy shirt I've got on.
It is a little, yes.
I think the way I'd say it is that something like Newey, they can't make it happen, but they can absolutely make it possible.
Good argument, and not, in the case of Jaguar's period, fail to make it happen, given all the right components, and then fail to deliver. This Red Bull team, I'd love to know how many people at Red Bull now, or as I prefer to call them, the Scarlet Bovines, how many of those are actually the same. Are there any people from the Stewart days left? Because that was a great team. To do what Stewart did in their, 3 short seasons of existence? Was it even 3 or was it even 2 seasons?
2, I think. And then what did they get? They got Johnny Herbert stuck it in a podium in Monaco.
And Barrichello got a win, didn't he? Oh, Johnny got a second place, I think, for them as well.
We really are the internet's leading source of vague things that we haven't checked before we start speaking. Anyway, I know what you're saying, though. The Stewart team, considering what they had, they did well. But the Jaguar, yes, was best. I mean, where they fetched up in
Jaguar,
Australia at the start of that season.
Notable for losing a very expensive diamond at Monaco off the nose of a car.
Jaguar famous for losing a cubic zirconia and winning a very substantial PR coup. I believe, I don't know that's true, but I do know one of the people involved in that, and I know that he is very good at PR.
The mismanagement of Jaguar was done by 3 people, as I recall. Nicky Lauda. Did you remember when Nicky Lauda was the team boss at Jaguar? Do you remember when Bobby Ray Hull was the manager of Jaguar? Had you forgotten
I remember that. I loved having him.
And David Pitchforth, the Ford guy, who was good for sacking everybody, he managed Jaguar for a while. None of them managed to galvanise the team in the way that the combination of Carlin, that's what's his name's team, isn't it? The faux Dutchman.
Horner.
Christian Horner. What's his race team? Is a 3-race team. It's Carlin, isn't it? Yeah.
I think so,
yeah. So what we're looking at here is sort of a Carlin-Newey core to Red Bull. That's who's really won this. It's a combination of Carlin, who know how to go racing, with, I keep wanting to call him Westwood, because he just sounds like Westwood to me, at the helm, and Newey giving them the impetus. So you've got that core of an idea, and it's managed well, and then delivered with 2 sparkling drivers, a gritty, determined Mark Webber, and a truly gifted Vettel. He's one of those natural gifted drivers, I think, who deserves to win championships. That's my theory on how they've done it. Did anyone actually ask me for that?
No, but we welcomed it anyway. You are the Eddie Jordan of this podcast. Oh, no, because we welcomed it anyway, so that's not strictly comparison.
But you are in the whitest shirt. Actually,
well, there we go.
Richard and I are both here in monochrome grey.
Yeah,
and
so I didn't... Well, apart from, obviously...
I thought I'd wear a BBC-compatible shirt for this show in this colour. Yeah. HD. Is this the first ever HD episode of Gareth Jones on Speed? No. Let's clear that up.
Let's shut down that avenue of nonsense right there.
You've got about 10 seconds each of you to wrap this up. Let's talk very, very quickly about, are we satisfied with this season? What's going to happen next year? Z?
This season in a sound is woo.
It's you're doing the day-to-day.
You're doing it in a sound.
Can you sum it up in a word? No, a sound.
Exactly. That's where. Yeah. Sorry. Yes. No. I've inadvertently cribbed off the day-to-day.
Well, no, it's a good thing to crib off.
Richard,
has the season been good? Yes, it's been a great season. Absolutely, enjoyed it enormously, and it's great that it went down to the final race as well. It always keeps things interesting. And what will next year be like? I don't know. Lots of variables. Lots of things we don't even know about yet. Drivers.
India?
New track. Drivers moving around a bit. probably in the off-season, as they always do, and, of course, new tyres. So it's everything's, well, not everything, lots of things up in the air. Great. We like it like that.
And the rumour about Webber going to Ferrari isn't happening by the looks of it.
He said he's staying today, didn't he?
Yeah,
But, hey, for me, the season isn't over. It just moves into a different phase. It's all that period of speculation and testing times and young testing drivers having a go.
I like all that.
Oh, I
good,
do
isn't
too.
it? It's very nerdy, but I like all that.
Yeah, well,
keeps it ticking over.
if you like nerdy, you've come to the right place, and we'll be nerding throughout the winter. The F1 season may be over, but the F1 chat on Gareth Jones on Speed certainly isn't.
Yeah, and also for my mate Tom, who says, I don't like when he talks about flying off because he's not interested, but he loves cars. We'll talk about some road cars next time.
Oh, yeah. By the way, I've got a trip to Rome, I did. I've got some video, that'll happen, and then we'll talk about some of the sparkling new cars soon. But we're going to leave you with the anthem of the new world champion, Sebastian Vettel. We applaud him.
It is there.
Milton Keynes, let's rock.
Sebastian Vettel is world champion because he won in Abu Dhabi. On the radio, he was emotional.
What you expect, he's only 13.
He was everyone's third favourite title hope.
After Mark Webber and Lewis Hamilton.
He is faster than Alonso. Can you confirm you understand this message?
It's very magnanimous of you.
To send us an email, see pictures, get song lyrics, join our Facebook fan site or follow us on Twitter, go to garethjones.tv. Gareth Jones on Speed is made in London by Whiz Bang.
Gareth Jones on Speed!